Hi, we're back in front of my bookshelf. I think that I'm going to sort through the books that I read this year that I currently own that I would like to get rid of because I don't need to have all of them. I like to keep books that are by authors that I'm collecting or that I love, even if I didn't necessarily love the book. Ones that I envision lending to friends, ones that made an impact on me. But otherwise, I just don't need to keep them. I love having a shelf, but someday I would like to just have full shelves of books that I've read that I love. I see no point in keeping books that I didn't enjoy. I think they'd be better suited in someone else's hands and someone else's home on somebody else's bookshelves. And so I'm gonna go through this, as I talked about before, this is my shelf of things that I've read. These are collectibles, but just about everything else is books that I still need to read. So this is also going to serve the double purpose of trying to illustrate to myself why I need to do a book buying ban next year. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, first is The Guilt Trip by Sandy Jones. I listened to this one on audiobook. I loved the cover and the idea of it, and especially the title. I thought worked so well, but it just wasn't something that I ever envisioned myself rereading. It's not something I would suggest to my friends, so I'm gonna get rid of this. I also read The French Exit by Patrick Duet. I wanted to watch the movie, which I actually never ended up doing. Anyway, the book was okay. I feel like this would make a much better screenplay, so I'm excited to see it as a film, I guess, that I didn't do. So I'm gonna get rid of this. I read Women Eating by Claire Coda. I absolutely love this cover. This is raised text. It's gorgeous. I just wasn't completely inspired by the book itself and don't plan on needing it. I also read Lester by Raven Lalani this year at recommendations of others, and I thought it was well written. There's a couple of quotes that I adored, but I just don't think I'll reread it again, so I'm gonna get rid of that. I actually also have a weird one. I'm getting rid of the hardback of The Marriage Plot. I love this cover, but I've just decided that I just need to stop buying hardbacks, like, ever. I can rent a hardback from the library or something if it's not out yet. I can read it on my Kindle. But if I'm gonna buy it for my bookshelf, I need to wait until it's in paperback, I've decided. This was already long in paperback, but I just didn't have it. I had the hardback. So I read it this year. Here it is. I read it this year and loved it and plan to keep it and hopefully reread it. I've really enjoyed everything I've read by Jeffrey Eugenides so far. This was the paperback cover that I ended up getting. But yeah, I'm just getting rid of the hardback. Now this stack of books I owned, obviously, that I tried to read and never got into them. And I've been so much better about letting myself DNF books. I still can't do it with TV shows. For some reason, that completionist part of my brain can't turn off. But I've been better about it with books for multiple reasons. The main one being just that I've literally gotten myself worked up and cried about the fact that there are so many books in the world that I'm never gonna be able to read. And what if my all-time favorite new book is out there and I'm never gonna get to it? So that helps me be able to DNF books. But it is such a pain that I physically own all these. I purchased them. Not all of them did I purchase at full market price, but it's still a lot of money that I didn't need to spend in the first place. And so I'm hoping that this will also serve as a good reminder for this next year's book buying ban rules, why I don't need to purchase books if I haven't read them and I'm not sure if I'm gonna like them or not. So, excuse me. Oh, my tail back down, okay. So here are a stack of books that I owned, tried to start reading, couldn't get into, and I'm now getting rid of. The Facility by Simon Lalick, After She Wrote Him by Sulari Gentile, The Dry Heart by Natalia Ginsburg, McGlue by Atessa Moshfegh, We Had to Remove This Post by Hannah Bervowitz, Sally Rooney, Beautiful World, Where Are You? I talked about in the past, like, I can sink into Sally Rooney books. I have conversations with friends and normal people that I plan on rereading at some point because I liked the way they were written so well. Could not get into this one to save my life. Didn't work for me. Not quite sure why. All Things Cease to Appear by Elizabeth Brundage. I'm sad about this one because I watched the Netflix film with Amanda Seyfried and I really liked the movie, or at least the story of the movie. I didn't think that the movie was done well. And so I thought that I would enjoy the book, and I've been reading so much horror and thriller books that I was so excited about it, and then I could not get into how this was written. And I find this as one of the most unfortunate ones of the year. One of the other most unfortunate ones of the year is Bunny by Mona Awad. I also had bought and gotten rid of another one of her books in the past. The themes and everything of her books seem to fit things that I'm interested in so well, but I cannot get into how she writes. And I'm not quite sure what the problem is, but it annoys me. I want to like them, can't get into them, so I'm getting rid of this. Tried to read Eleanor Olympia is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Couldn't get into it. I bought this book because of this amazing cover. It's called Destroy All Monsters by Jeff Jackson, and it's about music, and it's side A and then side B, and I thought that that was incredibly cool, and it's separated here by the edges of the pages, but couldn't get into it. Virginia Woolf, A Room of One's Own, a classic that I always wanted to read, and I just don't really like how this one's written. Big Little Lies, my sister and I absolutely loved to watch this show together. Couldn't get into how it was written. I think that this goes in the category of when I tried to read the series For You, I think that I just know the story so well already, and when it's such a clear adaptation that like they took the book and they made it the screenplay, for some reason that makes it harder for me to read because I already know what's going to happen, so there's nothing to keep me going, and so I couldn't get into this. Where the Crawdads Sing, couldn't get into. I was sad about this. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I want to get into Grady Hendrix. I love his covers. I love like his titles and his ideas. And I would love some more modern horror authors to get into. But nothing of his has struck my fancy yet. This was the only one that I bought. The others I tried via the library. But yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this. And last from this stack, we have We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang. I wanted to try this just because I love Ireland and it was super cheap at Half Price Books. And it made the travel back to California from Indiana last Christmas, and I couldn't get into it. So that's the end of those books. I'm gonna scoot you up closer and we're gonna go through the books that I kept on my shelf. Okay, awkward angle. Keeping all of these. I think I'm gonna get rid of Earth Angel by Madeline Clash. I've talked about this before. I think short story collections I just need to give up on, I think. The very first story in here called Plagues, I would recommend to everyone. I have it open on a tab on my computer just so I still have access to it because it's one of the best things I've ever read in my life. But I just can't do it otherwise. So yeah, I think I'm gonna take my tabs out and get rid of this one. I'll probably get rid of A Haunting in Venice eventually, but I don't think I'm going to quite yet. I think I'm gonna get rid of The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Day. This was a super easy read, very entertaining, but I just don't foresee myself rereading it in the future. Everything else here is good, so I'm gonna scoot this over here. I think I'm gonna take The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune to my sister, who I think will enjoy it and want it on her shelves more than I do. I just read Eileen. I talked about it in my last video, And I think I'm gonna take my tabs out and get rid of it. I liked my year of rest and relaxation a hell of a lot more. And I just don't ever see myself coming back to this, but I'm still excited to see the movie. So, okay, I think that's it that I had put back on my... While I'm doing this, I think I'm gonna take the courage, it's gonna take the courage to DNF Never Let Me Go. I cannot get into it. I'm over 50 pages in. I think I've got a few tabs in here I'm gonna take out so far. And I think I'm gonna DNF and get rid of this one. Also, an update on my last video, which was the books that I wanted to finish before the end of the year. As mentioned, I did read Eileen, and it was a little bit of a letdown, but I'm still looking forward to seeing the movie. I also did read Poor Things by Alistair Gray. This was a 4.5 out of 5. I absolutely loved it and thought it was brilliant. This is such a good classical, but also such a modern take on what it is like to be a woman. And when you really strip our experiences down to the bare bones of it, how they should or could be considered in a different world. Alistair Gray has the greatest voice. He's absolutely hilarious, and I am so looking forward to seeing Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo and all of the actors that are in Poor Things perform his words. If you have any interest in classics and philosophy and social justice, what is that genre called that I love? It's not dark academia, but I think a lot of, nope. Gothic literature. If you like Gothic literature, I think that you should take a look at this because it was absolutely amazing. I used like 6 full tab colors because it was just constant. Same was right. I marked the shit out of it. So that's also my update on that. I still need to read The Last Summer I Turned Pretty, reread that, and the last 2 Harry Potters. I'm working on Half-Blood Prince right now. So yeah, hopefully that will help inspire me to cut back on my book buying next year. And hopefully I'll get a few more done by the end of the year as well. Okay.